The second young man, Aaron Goldstein, he painted the entire work area of the Maybrook Police Department. And I know Chief Anthony was very happy with the job he did, as well as Sergeant Rest over there. It's the area that's used quite extensively by the police every day. Hadn't been done in a long time. He also painted the bathroom, which also had not been done in a while. And that also was a wonderful project that enhanced our village too. A little bit personal about both these young men. They both play in our band. The Glock, the bells. Aaron Goldstein plays both bells and drums. We use him back and forth all the time. They both come from wonderful families. Wonderful families. And I'm also very proud to announce that Aaron Goldstein has a goal to eventually attend West Point. That's his goal. And I believe he will make it someday. And being an Eagle Scout certainly helps. The other young man doesn't have to worry about going to a military academy because on June 25th, he will be going to the United States Naval Academy.
All right.
In Annapolis as a midshipman, Brandon O'Brien. So we're very, very proud of that. It's been a long time in Maybrook since anybody went to a military academy. And this is something that we're all very proud of. So at this time, Aaron Goldstein and Brandon O'Brien, please come forward.
Good, you can open it up if you like. I think it's, there you go. All right.
Ready?
Got enough room?
Now we do.
Okay.
All right. Okay, congratulations, guys.
Thank you all very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll see you at the parade in St. Patrick's.
Looking forward to it.
March 21st.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now following up on that, I think it's really appropriate that we timed that due to happenstance. Our Citizen of the Month, just want to actually make a comment. I don't know who noticed this because it was in the paper too, but the name was actually wrong on Tim Dempsey's award. It was his brother Dan. So I had a call with him. We had a good laugh about it. We got it fixed, so he's got his award with his own name on it now. But we got the name right this time. The individual who's the Citizen of the Month this month is Kelly O'Connor, and Kelly O'Connor was honored at a ceremony for creating a database of all veterans in St. Mary's Cemetery in Montgomery. Her database included names, dates of birth and death, branch of service, rank, wartime served, honors and awards received, as well as GPS coordinates specifically in the cemetery where these veterans were buried. For creating the database, Kelly received the Girl Scout Gold Award, which is comparable to an Eagle Scout for the Scouts. So the fact that we have her here and she was nominated and selected the same evening we're honoring 2 Eagle Scouts, I think is really special. And also bringing a woman Girl Scout, another Scout, I think that's pretty incredible that we've come that far. So I would love to actually have Kelly come up here and receive this award, and she was nominated by Councilwoman Kristen Brown, so I'm going to have Councilwoman Brown join us as well. Now, Kelly, Tim actually said a few words. Would you like to say anything about your project? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
I really enjoyed doing this project because I got to learn a lot about like the history of like the veterans in our community. It was just really cool to see everyone, and I've even like gotten feedback back about like people finding their friends and uncles and relatives, and it's really cool to see that.
All right, let's hear it again for Kelly O'Connor.
Who is also going to States this weekend.
Awesome.
Track, I think, or running of some sort. Sorry, Kelly, I
She's
don't
gonna be
really
doing
know
some
which
ath-
sport you're going for.
There's gonna be some athletic activity. Okay. We are now going to do some appointments. I'm gonna start with, actually the Board of Assessment Review. So I was notified that, there's gonna be some training going on, so there was a push to have this individual reappointed. There was one other individual who asked to be considered. However, after I let him know there wasn't a vacancy, that someone wanted to be reappointed, he said, no worries, I can always wait, the next time something comes along. So I would ask for us to, make a motion to appoint Walter Lindner, for another reappointment to the Board of Assessment Review.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Brown, seconded by Ron Fowler. Any discussion?
And that term is gonna be retroactive back to October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2024. It's a 5-year term for the Board of Assessment.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Congratulations, Walt. Continue to serve. Next, I'm gonna do the town historian. This is an individual I have a history with. I don't know if she's here.
Yeah, she is.
She is, where are you?
So I walk.
Oh, I could, there you are. It's so hard. Usually you're very easily identified, I can hear your voice. All right. Mary Ellen Matisse has had just an unbelievable history in terms of serving our town and the village of Walden also specifically. When I was mayor, she served as historian during my tenure there. She's a hard worker. Anyone who knows her knows how diligent she is. We're excited for her to continue in this formal role and work with the HBC as she's already been doing. And without further ado, I would just ask for a motion to appoint Mary Ellen Matisse, town historian.
I'll make that
Is it my
motion.
appointment?
It's your appointment.
Do you need a
Technically,
motion?
you don't need approval of the board.
Okay.
Well, I was asking for it anyway, just so you guys.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Motion made by Sherry, seconded by Cindy. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, congratulations, Mary Ellen. Yes, correct, yes. Next, we went through a lengthy process, we're going through a lengthy process to really get a good feel on all of our boards. We had interviews with several members, I think we had 11 or 12 interviews for prospective IDA members. We did make 2 changes, but today, since the appointments aren't specific to any year, they're all at will, we're just gonna reappoint all 7. And I'm gonna end with our last 2 who are gonna be joining us as new board members. So we reappointed Jeff Christ, Ed Williams, Matt Stoddard, John Dixon, and Robert Santo. And I want to say congratulations and ask them to come forward. We're very excited for them to join this team. Don Berger and Randy Green. I'm sorry?
This requires one.
Yes, sir. Yep. Is Randy here? There she is. Come on up, Randy. Welcome. Very excited, Bob, for continuing your service. Randy, we're very excited. We're gonna have you come over here, Megan, so we're gonna let's take a little photo. Yeah. Go ahead, Bob. Wherever you wanna go. All right. Congratulations. Very excited.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, so we're working hard, we're going through our own processes. We believe that I think we have a really good cross-section of individuals who have different viewpoints on what kind of developments we should have here, but also in terms of the IDA, a lot of good work that can be done. There's a lot of things that I think we look forward to in changing how the IDA works, and I think new voices and different generations being represented is going to be really important to move that process forward. So I'm really excited about our 2 new members and our previous members to work together to do some really good things. All right, moving along.
Motion.
Oh, we need a motion.
I'll make it.
Sherry Melick,
Second.
second by Ron Feller. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. All right, next, we have 4 public hearings. Well, one is actually gonna get tabled, we'll get to that. But since we have several public hearings today, and I know I wanna give everybody a chance to speak, we are going to have a 4-minute time, and I'm not gonna just cut you off at 4, I will let you know when you got 30 seconds left to try to finish up. Just so you guys know, in terms of the Medline hearings, we are going to keep these hearings open, so it's not as if this will be your only opportunity to provide feedback. We do not plan to take action this evening. So if you had something else you wanted to say, or you get cut off and you don't want to just submit it, there will be another opportunity to speak when we reschedule, keep the public hearing open. Before we make a motion to open the public hearing, I believe there's a presentation that's going to encompass both the water and the sewer. So would it be appropriate to just do the presentation first?
No, part of the public.
Part of the public hearing?
Yes.
All right, so should they have 2 separate?
I'll make the motion to open the
Oh,
public hearing.
hold on a second.
We can, are the presentations combined?
Yes.
Okay, well, you can do you can open the first public hearing and the second simultaneously. You know, if they're doing the same presentation, it's okay.
So we're gonna make one motion to open both public hearings?
Yes, at least, yes.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to open the Medline petition to extend Neelytown West Water District Number 2 and Medline petition to extend Sewer District Number 1?
I will.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Public hearing is now open. We will first hear from Mr. John Capello.
Good evening, everyone. John Capello. Is this on?
You guys show? Never mind, Don's on board now. He's
It's all right. Been a while since I spoke on this. My name is John Capello. I'm an attorney with Jacobus and Gubis, and I'm here with Mike Jenkins and Kelly Esch, the project engineers for Medline, to present the water and sewer district extensions to extend the districts to serve the Medline project. We originally submitted the petitions to the town board in April of 2019. At that time, there was a description of the property to be included. There was a discussion and a map plan and report that explained the actual improvements that were being made in consultation and direction of the planning board engineer and town engineer. At that point, there was a hearing scheduled back in July 2019. Now, the town was in the process at that time of doing their flow management report to determine the extent of the I&I problem with the sewer district. So that hearing was open, but was postponed to allow that report to happen and also allow the planning board to progress through the environmental impact statement process. A revised map and report was submitted then in October 2019. A public hearing was commenced on December 5th, 2019, was held over until February 20th, and then held over again this evening. The Medline property is located, as if anybody doesn't know by now, on Route 416. The address is 494 Route 416, near the intersection with Neelytown Road and I-84. It's tax map section 36, block 1, lot 35. This is the only parcel that is proposed to be included in the sewer district. And you can see the map before you on the screen there. The, I guess, aqua portion is the existing sewer and water districts, and the red site is the Medline property. So the Medline property is contiguous, although separated by 84, but it is contiguous to the existing district. The cost of the district to the district, and that's one of the things I think the board is aware of, the public may not be aware of based on some comments I've heard. The cost of the sewer district is a financing mechanism. So the cost of the sewer district is financed solely by those properties within that sewer district from day one. So there's been no town funds expended that weren't paid for by those properties. Aqua involved in now the red. The improvements that Medline is proposing to make to connect to the sewer plants will all be at the expense of Medline. The cost is in the report, I believe it's about $500,000 or so, but no cost to the municipality. The water and sewer is for domestic use only. There's going to be no processing at this facility or use or industrial wastewater. It's all public consumption. Now, the demands, because this is a warehouse, although there will be employees, the water and sewer demands are fairly low. At the opening of the facility, there will be about 350 employees that will be brought over from the Way Beyond site, and the sewer demand is proposed at 2,618 gallons per day at opening, and it would rise to 6,611 by year 7. Now, those figures are based upon actual uses of the facility in Way Beyond, and the appropriate backup was submitted as part of the map plan and report. The water is similar. Obviously, it goes in and eventually it goes out. A little less water than a sewer by year 7, but it's 2,618 gallons upon opening. Now, with the benefits to extending the district, because one, using public sewer and hooking to public sewer when capacity is available is the better way to handle it than to use a lot of land for a septic system or to build an on-site package plant. Either the town would want to maintain or Medline a package plant. You would have different outfalls on the river, so it's best to keep one outfall and to use the money to be spent by Medline to facilitate and enhance the existing system of the town. It's more protective of the environment since you don't have a small package plant. The additional user, Medline will be paying a fee to come into the district, an allocation fee. It's $103,000 approximately for the sewer, and a little less for I think $68,000 or so is the allocation fee for the water. Now, those funds would be used by the district to fund either your continuing work on the I&I or any improvements that need to be made to the existing infrastructure that's above and beyond the cost of the infrastructure that Medline is actually building for the connection. So we believe that based upon this, when the findings that you will have to make eventually when you close the public hearing and the planning board finalizes their secret process is, number one, are the petitions validly signed, and we believe they were, and it was submitted to your attorney. Is the property all the property being included in the sewer district benefited by the extension? Obviously, the entire property is going to be used by Medline, so it is absolutely benefited by being extended in the sewer. And are all properties benefited included? At the initial time, Medline property is the only additional property that is benefited, therefore there's no need to include any other properties in the district. Sometime in the future, the town may want to consider it, but right now the only property benefited is Medline. So those are the findings the board is required to make under the law to extend the sewer district. The issue of sewer and water has been discussed extensively within the EIS process. Before the planning board has been reviewed, commented on by the public and on by all involved agencies as well. So we believe that it is appropriate to extend the districts. And I have Mike and Kelly here available to answer any questions that the board may have. If you want to hear the public first and call us back, but we're available. With that, thank you.
Thank you, John. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
At this point, we're going to have Delaware Engineering come up, and what I'd like for them to do is explain to the board and to those that are here in attendance the formula that was used to figure out what the buy-in fee would be in terms of the water and the sewer regaining access. So, Bill Bright from Delaware Engineering and Mike Aiello from Delaware Engineering.
So it's a pretty standard formula. We do it wherever a district is expanded and people or properties that have previously paid into the capital costs of that district. So what we have to come up with is how much did those previous properties invest? And what is that value? And we have to convert it into a price per gallon such that, so when they buy in, it's fair to the customers that have already been there paying all along. So it's a buy-in fee is really what it is. Hookup fee, buy-in fee, there's a number of different things. Because once they're in, they'll pay their fair share of the O&M. So this is really just to capture the past monies that have been spent on the capital investment done by the properties within the district. You want to explain that?
And they'll also contribute proportionally to the debt that remains for capital improvements. But the formula is simple. Precedent had kind of been set years ago. The early years of the treatment plant that's in operation, the town board had, as Bill said, simply divided the cost, which is a $1.1 million ESC loan for the current treatment plant. I say new treatment plant, that was 20 years ago. Divided it by the capacity, which is 147,500. That was the price per gallon. And then multiply that by the projected flow of projects looking to come in, such as Home Depot, the Do It Best Warehouse, FedEx, UPS, UNFI. The $1.1 million loan was paid off some time ago. That is actually getting paid off this year. So what really needed to be included was principal on that loan. There's also a bond anticipation note that's out there. That's additional debt for an earlier design for a treatment plant expansion. And in recent years, there's been capital improvements that have been paid out of fund balance, out of available funds.
So it's the total of all the costs.
So all of that now adds up to what the debt was that properties in the district have had to pay off while they were, while they've been connected, while they've been in the district. So that was for sewer. Same thing pretty much applies to water. The water system, water's a little more complicated. This is the petition to get into a district that is simply a distribution district. It doesn't produce or supply any water. It buys water from Water District 1. So we added up the debt that was paid off in short order for Water 1, the debt that was incurred in recent years, at least the payments that have been made in recent years toward the debt for the Town West Water District, which still has a bonding case anticipation note out on that. Again, divided by the capacity of the water system, multiplied by the projected flow consumption, and
So in sewer, the total was 2.3 million approximately, divided by the gallons, 147,500. That's how we came up with what was it, like
$15.64 per gallon. And multiplied by their
projections of 6,000.
maximum project. And water was a little more than 2.3 million. So they're both about the same amount, but the capacity of the water system is more than the sewer system. So
Yeah.
the price per gallon is less.
All right, I've been in these meetings, been part of this process with both of these two gentlemen and everyone else involved. Originally, the application, the fee that was in place was, I think, just over $70,000 with our new formula that we hope to adopt and use as a policy moving forward for anyone who's looking to buy in. We are going to, looks like, have an additional $100,000 put onto that. Is that accurate?
Additional 100? No, the total is over 100 for sewer.
In terms of water and sewer.
Water and sewer.
The original fee that was brought into the equation, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, was just over $70,000. Is that correct?
I understand that for the sewer. I don't know if there was a water fee.
I don't believe there was a water fee.
Now
So,
it is.
based on our formula,
Yes.
including water and sewer, it's
Absolutely.
another $100,000.
Yes.
And just to make it clear, after this was presented to the applicant, everyone is in agreement, and they have agreed to pay that additional fee or the fee that we figured out here based on our formula.
Yes, and that is now included in the revised report, which is sent you, that was revised specifically for that issue.
And it's also being placed in the planning documents.
Yes. Yes.
Does anyone from the board have any questions on either presentation before we get to the public? Kristen?
Go ahead, Ron. So, one question for you guys. I mean, I'm not one to second guess math. I'm an engineer, but, You said that you did, the formula that you derived was based on 1.1 million from the old plant. Does that incorporate inflation?
The total came to $2,307,319.10.
Did that
And that
include?
included the EFC borrowing, other capital improvements that had been done over the years. So it was 1.46 for the EFC loan, and then a $292,000 rehab, Omar, rehab, and then an RBC repair of $45,000. So all of the monies expended by the district for capital improvements was included into this.
So basically, the cost of inflation would be, the cost of operating that plant for all the years after we purchased it would be included in your equation.
It doesn't have the operating costs. It just has the capital, what the equipment actually costs. Because the operating costs are paid for every year based on, yeah. So now they'll start paying the operating costs going forward.
Because my concern is just that the new plant is gonna cost more than $1.1 million. I estimate, right?
Right, but they, if accepted, they will now be in the district that pays off that debt.
Okay,
Part of the
okay,
loan.
I just wanted to make sure that that was.
No, it has, figure has nothing to do with what's going forward, only what has
Occurred in the
been
past.
expended in the past to make up proportionally, equitably, for what everybody else in the district has paid for in the past.
And what is the timeline? When we did our board tour, we talked about the timeline for the increasing the chlorination tank, the contact time in the chlorination tank, and bringing the Baxter plant online.
And a professional service agreement was just provided to Brian only a couple days ago for the board to still review for our proposal on that, so.
We're gonna get into that March 19th, but we'll have a clearer picture at that point on time frame and also what the cost is going to be and how we're going to fund it.
Okay. Thank you, I didn't know about that.
It just means,
Yeah, just fresh off the press.
I have a question. To use your formula, you mentioned projected flow. Now, that projected flow, is that based on the 350 employees that are gonna be there on year one, or is it based on the 800 employees that are gonna be there on year 7?
what we charge,
Well,
you're set, well, they provided the, Medline's consultant provided the flow, but it's based on the maximum projected flow in year 7.
And it's actuals too. It's based on actual flows of the existing plant. And the regulation, which says for every employee, you have to account for this much flow. So we followed the DEC regulations and the actual flows at the plant that they're running now.
Okay, so.
We're confident they're accurate.
And when we go from 2,600 change first year to over 6,000, if I equated that to employees, I did 350, it's gonna be about 800 employees at year 7, plus or minus?
700.
Yeah, I think it's 700, conservative estimate.
And the 700 is in your formula as projected flow. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? I think it's worth noting that we did get a memo, sort of the planning board, in terms of our capacity at our current wastewater treatment plant, and current excess capacity is 17,500 gallons per day. Obviously, if this request goes through at year 7, it would be year 1, it'd be 2,600 gallons per day, and by year 7, 6,611. And it would take a couple years for that actually to all happen, of course. Just wanted to give everybody the numbers. The town obviously has no obligation to approve the sewer district extension. If not, Medline's option would be to build its own packaged sewer treatment plant to be discharged to the Waukegan River. However, when permitting the DC, we'll potentially ask Medline why it doesn't connect to the town. So that's why we're doing this now, and that's why this was planned this way. I just wanted to make sure that our engineers provided us with a professional estimate based on a fee structure that we can adopt as a policy moving forward, so we don't continue to have different formulas and different answers for individuals who want to continue to do this in the future and try to buy in.
So based on that letter, you mentioned building another sewer plant in lieu of, can you put a septic system there? Is that possible?
I'm sure they'd have to speak to that.
I think it would have to be a package plan or a very,
package plant would be the most viable for this site because of the amount of volume. It's a much smaller footprint.
But the answer would be yes. If we did not bring them in, they would build on site.
They build a sewer plant, they wouldn't build a septic system. Two different things.
Yeah, no, they'd probably have a point discharge into the water.
From a,
From a sewer,
from a sewer.
not a septic system. It contains septic system. Do you have, does that site have the capability of building a septic system?
We haven't flushed that out for that.
You're very perky.
But confidently, a on-site treatment plant could be built.
An on-site treatment.
Yeah.
But you asked about a septic system,
I did.
so that's two different things.
Well, that would take a different type of testing and looking at the soil to evaluate it for that particular use, and that has not been done at this time.
From our professional engineer standpoint, should they go that route, if we were just to not connect them, what would that look like in terms of being, negative towards the environment?
A septic system?
Correct.
Well, it could contribute to groundwater contamination of aquifers and things like that. If they soften the water, like every other water softener, contaminations of the groundwater from sodium and chloride. So it's, I think from an environmental perspective, I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say, you're better off treating it at our plant where we know how it's gonna be treated and we know it's gonna meet the standards of the stream and it's professionally managed, and I think for the town, we're protecting the town better by treating the wastewater ourselves.
All right, thank you.
Do you guys know off the top of your head what DEC recommends? For this, what do they recommend? Do they recommend a septic system, or do they recommend
They
a
don't,
wastewater treatment
DEC
plant?
doesn't recommend. They don't recommend anything.
That put them liable, right?
They let us recommend and then they approve whether or not it meets their standards. But they're not allowed to really recommend.
Thank you all. Does anybody have any more questions from the town board? Okay. Thank you, John. Much appreciated.
And we're here, and it's public, if you want us to respond to the questions that you raised, we're certainly available.
All right, John. Okay, who from the public would like to comment as part of this public hearing? You will have 4 minutes. We'll give you a warning when you're getting close. Please just come to the podium, state your name, your address. Any takers? Yes, sir.
Good evening, my name is Jeff Van Zandt, 91 Weaver Street in the village of Montgomery.
You gotta hold it.
Testing 1, 2.
Good job.
Should I reintroduce myself or not?
No, Jeff Van Zandt. Okay. Yeah.
So when I hear somebody on the board is cutting out,
Do we have another one over there?
See if the light went on.
I don't know. It always has, I feel like.
Sometimes you gotta use a little bit more than that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
are we on now?
You're good.
Okay, so when I hear the board say, how are we gonna pay for it?
Step back a little bit. Okay.
How about now?
Kind of in the middle, because when you talk like this, it's coming out of your ear.
You're good. Go ahead. You're good.
Okay, so when I hear the board say, how are we gonna pay for it? Okay, somebody just said, we'll talk about it on the 19th. There shouldn't be a single nickel out of any taxpayer's pocket for anything regarding this project. Water, sewer, it shouldn't cost anything to the taxpayer. The next we're gonna hear that maybe Medline wants the taxpayer to pay for some of their site work, maybe some of their steel erection. None of this should cost anything to the taxpayer. The next thing I wanna ask the board, especially Mr. Supervisor, how does transparency rate on from a scale of 1 to 10? Is it a 5 or is it a 10, the word transparency? In your newly elected position, is it a 10? Because I feel at a town level or village level that the government should be extremely, extremely transparent. So, in other words, when you campaign on certain issues, those should be the same actions that you take in your position. So according to the somewhat 3,000 members of the community that you spoke to while you campaigned, they were really concerned about the size of these two warehouses, along with the pilot that was recently handed out.
There's no pilot for this project.
I'm not talking this project, talking about,
This is
I know,
public hearing.
I know, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Okay, one of the concerns was the size of this warehouse that is right at the footstep of the village that I live in, okay? My relatives have been here since the early 1900s, the Armbrusters and the Schmidts. When they moved up in the city because they wanted to get fresh air for one of their relatives that couldn't breathe clean air, they said, move up to the country. So they moved up to Montgomery for clean, fresh air. Now we're about to have these gigantic warehouses, one on each side of the village. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? Yes, Susan, got your hand up?
Susan Hoffman from Montgomery. First of all, to be clear, there is no room on that site plan to put in land treatment technology. You couldn't possibly fit a septic system in there. I've looked at all the plans, and I think anybody would know that the parking lots and the stormwater ponds and all that, there is no room for any land treatment technology. The other thing is, I wanted to know, is Delaware Engineering working for the town of Montgomery?
They have been since before the new year.
Okay. And I take it you're not a sanitary engineer? Wastewater treatment technology? No.
Excuse me?
I take it he's not a wastewater treatment technology
They are.
engineer?
They specialize in water, sewer.
Then he would know what the best technology is. Land treatment technology is the best thing for the environment. You're going to put in a treatment plant and add outflow to the Walker River, which already has HABs, harmful algal blooms, which you couldn't even throw a stick in the water and let your dog into it. We have several sites throughout Montgomery along the Walker River. Somebody recently posted a picture of the bridge with the water bright green, trying to advocate for something, but actually that was serving as a warning to kayakers because that's harmful algal blooms. You can't even put your foot in the water. So the other question I had is, I just want to go back to June 19th, the Walker Valley Times from last year. Your committee chair, Bill Kernan, put a full-page ad in. Town of Montgomery residents, some points to ponder. First up, he put, when Medline first approached the town of Montgomery, they had not planned on locating here because there was no water or sewer service. But the town supervisor, Rod Blinchell, convinced them to reconsider by offering them water and sewer service. Please think about these facts when voting in the Republican primary, Tuesday, June 25th, Bill Kernan, Walden. So this is like a 180. One person is not on that team, but the rest of you all are. It's pretty bad. Other thing, I just don't understand how you've gone this far on this issue at this point in time when there's no moratorium in place and no comprehensive plan. What keeps being referred to and bandied about as a sewer treatment plant in town is not. It hasn't been for 15, 20 years. It's a garbage structure. It's rudimentary, it's basic, it was failing back in 2004. That's on record. You can foil for it with the state and you can see. We're going from 0 to 100 like that. You should
You
have
have
a
about 3 more seconds.
I know. you should have a comprehensive plan and a moratorium in place to determine where sewage treatment plants and what kind of systems they will be to serve the public once the public all agrees on it. This is the cart before the horse. You know, the early bird gets the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. Well, we're setting it up in favor of the wrong side here, and it's really not sound reasoning. I'm happy to hear that you actually have 2 board members that speak up and ask questions.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Karina.
I have a visual that I prepared.
Sure.
Karen, I'm gonna have to get off your copy, so I have to There's a map attached to this.
Thank you.
Please enjoy. My best wishes. I've prepared these comments to request that you pause on granting the extension of sewer and water districts to Medline. The impacts of these extensions have far-reaching impacts that go well beyond the 1.3 million square foot warehouse that they plan to construct. There's been no evaluation of cumulative impacts resulting from the extension of the sewer and the water districts to the site. And in fact, in Medline's draft environmental impact statement, they say that constructing a pump station, which is required to bring the water to the site and back to the wastewater treatment plant, quote, may provide a closer future sewer connection to various parcels on State Route 416 further to the north, including the Orange County Airport. And the reason why I bring that up is because we're poised to have a moratorium for warehouse development. The planning board has been slammed with applications we're trying to get in before the moratorium law has been passed. And we're working on a comprehensive plan, which I'm very proud and honored to be a part of that committee. This aerial figure, and there's a lot more words in this letter, I tried to be really thorough, this aerial figure you'll see, this is an aerial figure of the southwestern portion of Montgomery that is in question. I've got Medline outlined here, the wastewater treatment plant is down here, the location of the pump station is here, and the reason why this is important is because I've outlined in blue lines several blocks that are I-1. It's this area north of the Orange County Airport, south of the Orange County Airport, and immediately adjacent to Edenbrook, where Edenbrook Farms currently is, and behind that. The reason why this is important is because this is 1,150 acres of land, which is approximately 60% of the entire I-1 zoned area in the town of Montgomery. So what we're talking about is building a connection to a pump station that will then pump water potentially to other developers in this area. And the reason why I wanted to show you this on an aerial and not this very accurate but kind of bloodless map that was included in the environmental impact statement is because on this aerial you can see that these are all farms right now. So what we're talking about is not just extending water and sewer to Medline, we're also talking about potential growth inducement, which is something that is required to be looked at for SECRO. We're also talking about changing the cultural and community character of that part of the town. And so basically, to kind of sum it all up, our neighbors in Beacon and New Windsor have based their moratorium strictly on the basis of availability of infrastructure for development, right? They were like, we don't have the water and the sewer for all of these developers that want to come into our towns, and that's why they did those very fast moratoriums. That's not the path we've decided to pursue, but we have a very real reason to pause here for the exact same reason. This Medline development, you know, it's been in front of the planning board for a really long time. I've been paying attention to it for a really long time. Frankly, I mean, it's exhausting, and I'm sure Medline feels the same way. But beyond that, this extension is going to extend the water and sewer districts to a huge amount of Montgomery. The reason why we're doing the moratorium and the comprehensive plan is because we need to take a look at what assets we have right now in place in the town. We need to take a pause, we need to evaluate what has been built out, we need to do an inventory of available land, we need to see what the uses are that are around those parts of available land, and part of the comprehensive plan process is double checking our work, making sure that we're still doing what the community needs. We're still permitting the community to develop their land, say, oh, and they have a right to develop, but in a way that's not going to harm the rest of the community. And so if you take another look at this, you can see immediately surrounding all of this blue are residential neighborhoods. Right, we've got residential neighborhoods across the Walton River. Okay. I'll tell you, I live in the village of Montgomery, and I've been down to the village park early in the morning, I can hear cows from across the Walco River, like lowing at me, which is really cool, and I love that, but that means that these residents on the other side of the Walco River, they're gonna hear everything, the lights, the noise, they're gonna see the warehouses, there's gonna be additional truck traffic on the road, and all of this 1150, this acreage is open up for development, it's going to have a very real, very impactful, kind of devastating result on that part of the town. So, thank you.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you for the anyone else? Yeah, John, you had something you wanted?
Well, I just wanted.
You can come up
respond
if you
to a
like so
couple-
people can hear you.
There was some, did you see, there was someone.
Yes, it
If
is.
someone wanted to speak first, and I just, before it's over, there was just a couple things I wanted to clear up.
Oh,
and
yeah,
wrap
so
up.
we'll let everybody else go. Cherie, you had your hand up, right?
Hi, good evening, board. Thank you. Cherie Zahakis, Village of Montgomery. A lot of things have been covered, but I just wanted to state that you, as a board, have agreed to perform and enact the comprehensive plan, which you've all heard about. That means you acknowledge forthrightly in front of the residents and kind of entered into a covenant with us that states that you acknowledge the need for things to be addressed. One of those things that have been presented to you by the different planners has been the fact that our septic, or our sewer, I should say, and water, it goes hand in hand with that, just like updating the seeker. So since you've entered into this covenant by your each and every one of you acknowledgement of that, well, I think you need to do it comprehensively, and we hold off on any moves to the systems until it's exactly like Karina said, until we have actually got a grip. We know what the town wants in the type of sewer systems that they want, and to the benefit of everybody. And remember, you all have acknowledged the need here. So to say something different comes across very false. I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Cherie. Anyone else? Yes.
Wendy Curtis, Montgomery. It seems like we're having a hard time getting you to be convinced that we should wait on this whole moratorium thing, or wait on including Medline or excluding Medline. I'm just wondering if you could explain your position one more time, reiterate why you think it's possible to even move forward in allowing this. We have a moratorium coming. I'm just wondering what's in your head, like.
Specific to the water and sewer connection with Medline?
Yeah, considering what Susan said about them not wanting to come unless there was water and sewer, that's within our, like, why go further? Why murky the waters and make it like one step closer? Why not just stop here?
I try to separate, I try to evaluate what's in front of me. So currently, this is a water and sewer connection, right? So I want to value, how is that a value to the community? How is it a value to the community? Whether it's a value to the applicant or not, I want to know if there's a value to the community and to the town, and to our infrastructure. And to me, that's how I would evaluate it, separate from Medline. I wouldn't view this as Medline moving forward or not moving forward based on our decision on this specific issue. I would take it, for what it is.
Wasn't the moratorium the reason for deciding if it was good for the community? Like, why are we deciding now? Why?
I think a lot of Korea's talking points speak to the moratorium, taking a pause, figuring out exactly what we want to do. I would disagree to a degree on the fact that potentially setting up infrastructure means it's mandating specific to warehouses. I think that's what the moratorium comprehensive plan is all about. So I would also separate and say it does not necessarily mean that we would go forward with that.
So we should still entertain applications for what they're seeking? We should entertain that even though there's.
I don't know what you're asking specifically.
I thought they were seeking some sort of approval for water and sewer.
They're trying to connect to our town water and sewer as part of their process. Yes.
I just thought we stopped all decisions. I'm just trying to
We
figure
didn't.
out.
No. When the moratorium takes effect, That's, at that point, we would have established a threshold for projects, and then whoever falls in at that point, should we approve it, would fall in.
Right. Right. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Beverly?
Beverly Mertz, Village of Montgomery. Perhaps we need to finagle this and now have Medline and now we're jumping through hoops for Medline again. Walt Schmidt, the building inspector, wrote a clear and concise. Anyway, Walt Schmidt, town building inspector, wrote a clear and concise in his Medline project review that the proposed project does not fit into the town's zoning code as written. And that was in fall of 2018. Then a flurry of emails went back and forth between Medline's attorney and Walt Schmidt. They scared him into changing his determination. Basically, they wrote it for him. It doesn't fit. It doesn't matter if they're going to get water or sewer. They shouldn't hook up because it doesn't fit.
Thank you, Beverly. Any other comments as we fix our battery situation?
I have one. I just want to another question.
You want to wait till the end, see if there's anyone in public?
I
Anyone
didn't
else
know
from
if
the
you
public
wanted-
who would like to make a comment? All right, Kristen, go ahead.
So this is a question for our engineers actually specifically, because you guys are here, otherwise I would read that. But do we have an estimate for how much capacity we need in our wastewater treatment plant if all of our in-district users currently are built out? So, because I know there's open parcels on Neelytown Road, which should be within the aqua colored map up there. I mean, if they're fully built out warehouses, do we know how much capacity we need for that?
Plan is about.
No, that's what that
That's what
professional
the plan
service
is.
agreement is going to
Okay.
encompass.
So then I look forward to reading that, just so that way I am sure that we're covered for capacity if we can continue to build after the comprehensive plan. I know government takes a long time to get stuff done. I don't want to be our backs up against the wall of, we gotta move things along.
Anything would be a assumption,
That's fine.
estimate, assumption, but it will be part of this overall comprehensive study, this comprehensive sewer aspect.
You've heard us talk about it at length. I know last year they talked about it when talking about updating the comprehensive plan, also doing the comprehensive plan of water and sewer. That's what we're talking about, Builder Engineering performing that function of putting a comp plan for water and sewer together that deals with future needs as well as the rehab of our wastewater treatment plant. Short-term, long-term solutions, all that's going to be in that comp plan, and that's going to happen parallel to our comprehensive plan committee. So we don't just have the plan for the community and zoning, but also for water and sewer and infrastructure at the same time. And CAC, Trish Hannigan, and there's doing a lot of work there as well. We're going to do, and they're all going to complement each other. We're going to get it right. John, you had some comment?
Brian, let me go first.
Sure, you had something? Go ahead.
Sure,
John.
Sorry, Don, I didn't know you wanted to talk. I would have waited.
Don Berger, Montgomery. I think what the problem is for us residents to completely understand is that for an awful long time, we've been talking about a comprehensive plan, and we've been talking about a moratorium. Medline now wants to hook up the sewer and water. We have no plan in effect. We have nothing in effect, but we seem to be pushing this down the road again. And it's very discouraging for us because it's taken you guys so long. I don't know whether you all know it or not, but the Village of Montgomery is putting a draft for a moratorium, and I'll have it done in 2 weeks. How long have we been out of here, man? It's an awful long time. And I will tell you what people think, including myself, that this is done on purpose, that you're doing it on purpose. You're pushing all this off to get these guys in. This could have been resolved, the moratorium aspect of it, could have been resolved a long, long time ago. The comprehensive plan, Brian, should have been done in the previous administration. It is our feelings, us residents here, that you guys have pushed this can down the road and you're allowing it, and it's done on purpose. That's how we're seeing it. That's the vision we see. It doesn't make sense what's going on here, other than to allow Medline and Amazon to build. And that's what you guys really want. That's the bottom line.
Can I ask you a question in, respect to this board and Brian?
Sure.
When did we truly start talking about a moratorium?
January 1st.
Okay, so that's not a long time.
All right. With respect to what you said.
That's not
Okay.
long.
We respect
Before
every
that,
meeting. Hold on.
it was not in the speaking because of the prior supervisor.
Okay, true, but I'm talking for the residents.
I'm just telling,
I know,
I'm
I
just
understand
trying to
exactly,
clear
I
the air.
understand exactly what you're saying,
Sherry,
but we're seeing other townships,
Mhm.
a village right in our township.
Windsor.
That has completed this or attempting to complete it within weeks. This board here, because you've changed it so many times, you can't come into an agreement, it's now in month 3. For us, the people. We don't see, we're here saying, what the hell is going on here? And what we see, it's done, it's calculated, and it's to get Medline in here. That's as simple as that. And quite honestly, you guys aren't working on a moratorium. You can take whatever you wrote up and throw it in the garbage. It's useless.
All right.
It's true. It's true.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, and thank everyone for their comments. I just wanted to clear up something because in listening here and things get said again, and they said people start thinking the truth. I'm not going to speak to the moratorium here and the fact that Medline's application was in a year before anybody thought about a moratorium. The studies in water and sewer were done. They were provided to your town engineer, to your planning engineer. They were part of the EIS. They were reviewed. They were sent to all the involved agencies. They were sent to county planning department. They were sent to the DEC. The actual plant and the hookups will be reviewed and approved by the DEC. So the design of this plant has been vetted. The capacity issues have been looked at. They will be continued to be looked at. You will hold a hearing on your moratorium, and people will tell you what they believe on the moratorium, and there may be some people on either side, and they're all entitled to their opinion. But there are two things I want to clear up. One, I keep hearing cost to the taxpayer of Medline sewer and water. There is zero cost to the taxpayer. This entire district, and that was the first thing I said because I knew it was going to be repeated and repeated. The taxpayers of the town of Montgomery or the village of Montgomery that are not in that aqua-colored portion of the map have never paid a single cent for any of the water or sewer improvements in that district. That is the purpose of a district. That is why you form a district, is because those people benefited are the only people who pay for it. So any remarks, as well-intentioned, that this is costing the taxpayers, that's just not factually correct. You're entitled to your own opinion, you're not entitled to your own facts. When it comes to the pump station was designed and located at the direction of the town to potentially accommodate future growth. But the pump station in of itself will not accommodate it. You are considering a moratorium, you're considering whether you have a moratorium or not, you're reviewing your comprehensive plan. You'll determine what the appropriate uses are. You'll determine what kind of capacity you want out there. But I'm going to tell you one thing in the conversations I've heard. If you don't want warehouses anymore and you want to diversify past these, if you don't provide water and sewer opportunities, you're going to get warehouses and distribution centers because those are the lowest water and sewer users. you want movie studios or office buildings or manufacturing or whatever I've heard over the course of these months proposed here, guess what? People who make $85,000 and above, I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure medically they still need to use the bathroom. So you are still gonna need sewer and water. So if you don't plan here, you are in essence saying, we want more warehouses on that corridor because 100,000 square foot warehouse or 200,000 square foot warehouse probably could get by with a septic system or with a package plant. So you would ultimately be encouraging, but whatever you want there is not impacted by that pump design. That's going to be your decision. It's going to be on advice of your comprehensive plan, and it doesn't mean that the application that has been here, that has been before you for a year, that has provided all the studies, that it has demonstrated that the capacity is there. I don't know what articles were in the paper by people who had no authority and weren't on the board, what their opinion was, but the fact is that there was an application before the town in a zoning district in an area that has been zoned, that was zoned in the 1988 comprehensive plan, that was zoned in the 3-year review of that comprehensive plan after the 2004 plan was annulled as unconstitutional. The town took 3 more years to update the comprehensive plan on the industrial areas. Medline went to Hamptonburg. They were told, you're not zoned for that, go where you're zoned. They went where they were zoned. They applied. The history of Ms. Mertz, bless her, all those documents are in the FEIS. It's all explained. You can review it. If you want to call me, I'd be happy to discuss it. That's not the item here on sewer and water, but that has been discussed ad nauseum, and I'd be happy to do it, but I just want to have the board, we're going to have the discussion, and I understand people's opinion, but it should be fact-based.
All right, thanks, John. Randy?
Hi, Randy Green, Montgomery. I just have a couple quick thoughts. One, did you ever receive the email from a couple weeks ago from the last planning board? Initial planning board a couple weeks ago, and I sent an email to Fred and yourself.
Just remind me.
About the repetitive comments over and over and over again.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay.
Yep.
So if we're on the topic of water and sewer, I think we should not be talking about a moratorium. Moratorium is not on the agenda tonight. It's not what we came here to talk about. We should really stick to the topics because some of us are fitting this into a schedule. We had a meeting last night, I think it was, in the Village Hall with the Village Preservation Committee. We invited Jonathan Drapkin and Paula Kay. Paula Kay is an attorney for a couple municipalities, and one of the things that she brought up was in the town of Thompson. They ran the moratorium and the comprehensive plan concurrently, but before they took any kind of action on the moratorium, they surveyed the potential and actual projects before the town and then established the perimeters. So they had a code enforcer, which we do not have. They had the building inspector, the planner, and everybody else actually go out and look at what was currently zoned which way, what the potential projects that would come in into those parcels were, and then everything that was already before the board. They surveyed everything to see what the effects would be before they took any kind of effect, and talked about whether it's gonna include these warehouses, not include these warehouses, because they were having the same argument over and over and over again. Where does the buck stop? At what point do you have to be passed to be included or not included? So I just think if you have time to go and watch it, we did stream it, so you can go on the Village Preservation site and watch it if you want to. But they did have a lot of good information about other municipalities that were going through the same issue.
Thank you, Randy.
And a point of clarification, Randy, I believe we do have a code enforcement officer.
The building inspector, yeah. The building inspector is also.
Is also a code enforcement?
Yep.
Okay.
Right. Do we need a motion to keep it open to a specific date? Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to continue to keep this, or both of these public hearings open for April 16th at 6:30 p.m.?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Okay, Our next introductory local law, number 2, used car sales. For a public hearing, I'd like to have a motion to open that public hearing.
Make that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Abstaining? Motion carried. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Okay. All right, would anyone from the public like to be part of this public hearing on the introductory local law number 2, used car sales? John, you got something on the used cars? All right.
I wanted to just briefly comment on this, and because I was the attorney for an applicant who I think may have been the genesis of a lot of this, and I understand your concern, and I'm not here to comment adversely about the law, but I just want the board to think about one thing, because that client was also not quite vilified, but not treated very well. It was a tough parcel, and they finally understood it was a tough parcel, and it's probably not the appropriate place for that type of development. But I want you all to think that if you look out in your parking lot here, there's not a lot of bicycle racks. So everybody who came here in a car. Every one of those cars is required to have insurance. Now, God forbid one of us is in an accident. Now, with all the electronic equipment you have in cars, it doesn't take much to total a car. So the question is, what do you do with those cars? Is every municipality say, we don't want to ever have anything to do with providing an avenue or a place where those cars can be stored, purchased, sold, so they can be, in essence, recycled, which is not a horrible thing on the environment. Appropriate precautions would need to take place. I would just encourage, as the comp plan is looking at various uses, you may want to determine, is there an area in their town, or is there a way to accommodate this? Like, obviously, and I'll reiterate, that application is done in the location it was proposed, given the location of the farm, given the wetlands on the site, was not appropriate, but there may be an appropriate area, or you may rightfully say, we have one, we have enough, other communities can do it, but I just want to say it's not, these issues aren't as easy sometimes as you think about it, and there is another side to the story, and there is something you need to do with these types of cars. So just saying admonishingly, go somewhere else, go to Newburgh, that's not planned, so thanks.
Thanks, John. Yes, Don and Beverly.
Okay, I was at the work session yesterday, and it was actually a pretty good work session. There was a lot of talk going back and forth, and of course, the used car sales item was up, and they discussed it at length. So they did say that they were going to get to the town board today. You got it, something? Did you read that?
Sure.
On record?
Do you mind if I read it right now?
Go right ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so don't count this on Don's time, right?
Yeah.
Dear Supervisor Marr and Town Board members, the Planning Board wants to thank the Town Board for the opportunity to comment on this local law. The Planning Board is in agreement that used car sales needs to be defined in Section 30-20 of the zoning code. Under the assumption that this law is being introduced to prohibit the resale of salvage vehicles, we suggest that the law include any of the business's uses where salvage vehicles could be stored or sold. Also, with this new definition, the Town Board might consider adding a new tail to the current motor vehicle sales lot use at 70-10D14 along the following lines, but not including the storage of sale of inoperable or salvaged vehicles. Finally, correct the spelling of definition in the title. Thank you again for the opportunity to comment. Sincerely yours, Fred Reichel, Chairman of the Town Government Planning Board. So we certainly will take those into consideration.
Okay, so anyway, I thought there was great conversation on that. And, only a suggestion, and I know it's really tough because of the time you guys put in now at these board meetings, it's kind of, you get into the late hours. But as I sat there, I kept going over my head, how come there's not a town board member here to listen to what they're discussing? because they had 11 items, well, actually 13 items on their agenda. And they really went over it in depth, and I was quite pleased with the conversation and some of the results that was coming through those conversations. And I think that perhaps that if a board member were at these type of meetings, they too could get a better idea of where the planning board, the direction they might want to take, and bring it back to you guys and explain to you exactly what happened. Other than just a letter, and I appreciate that they sent the letter, but that's the only communication, but you don't get the feel. You know what I mean?
Well, just real quick, it's not the only communication. A lot of us, I know myself included, communicate regularly, and whether or not we attend, there is the ability to live stream. We're very excited about the work sessions. Certain times, obviously not so much, but I don't want you to think there's no communication at all. But I do agree, being there is nothing like being there.
But we do live stream these things, so you guys could watch them on the live stream.
Sorry, say that again?
I do.
Live stream it, you can watch it on the live stream.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Normally, I would say that I do like to attend, and I try to attend the planning board and the various other meetings, but yesterday, I can't speak for everybody, but yesterday I was at an MS4 class for the town, which happened to be at the same exact time learning stuff for the town. So I would like to thank Diane, because I actually watched it today while my son took a nap.
The work session, you get to see and hear more than you'll ever get to hear at a regular planning board meeting.
Sure.
The only thing that's tough is that you can't really hear too well. So I had the volume all the way up on high with the microphone.
You gotta push the chairs up.
Thank you, Don. Beverly?
Don covered it.
Covered it? All right, cool. Sheree?
Teresa Hawkins, you know where I'm from, town of Montgomery. I just would like to rebut a little bit of what the lawyer stated. We could have bike zones and bike lanes, and that's part of the comprehensive plan discussion. As somebody whispered in my ear, maybe why we don't have so many bikes is because people are now afraid of being hit by tractor trailers. I didn't say it, so I just think there's a lot of sides to this.
Sure,
And,
sure.
But I do appreciate the entertainment of a solid law. There is plenty of places. I commuted going to Poughkeepsie for work. I had to go through the area in, not Maybrook, oh my God, Marlboro. And I can tell you the amount of time, the danger, and the significant traffic that came from their reclamation area, if you will, for salvage for unused cars. And not only do they come out overloaded, they also only go like 30 miles an hour down all of 9W till they get to 84. And it becomes an excessive burden. So I do appreciate that, the care that you're taking. I know it's a good thing. We do need to reclaim our garbage, but we don't have to be the garbage hole. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheree. Yes, Mary Ellen.
Mary Ellen Ortiz, Walden. So along with that though, because we haven't tightened up our junkyard laws, and really I think we should be reimbursing John Brown because his presentation actually got them to change their mind and not put it on wetlands and not put it on the timber. But it also contributes to this situation that we have with those two trailers. Now it's two trailers. One trailer's gone. There were 3 trailers on Stone Castle Road. But as you drive down the road too, you notice that a lot of the other businesses along there have storage trailers parked up near the road on their property legitimately, but it's just, it becomes a junkyard that's not really a junkyard.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Any other comments on this public hearing for this issue? All right. We read the planning board comments. Do any of these trigger an additional public hearing?
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. We have to keep, what?
There we go.
Thank you. I just want to note that the public hearing could be closed. However, at this time, we have not received back a response from Orange County. The local law, because it's an amendment to the zoning code, was referred to county planning under General Municipal Law 239M. So if the board chose, first of all, there's a question of whether the board wants to direct me to make any further changes to the law.
Correct.
And once I know that, then we'll determine whether there's substantive changes that require continuation of the public hearing.
So no matter what comes next is closing the public hearing, and then we move forward based on the feedback from the county and whether or not these are changes that would trigger another public hearing.
If the board wants to make any further changes, we have to talk about it.
Okay, so would anyone like to make a motion to close public hearing for on-district local law number 2, used car sales?
I'll make it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried. All right, let's have that discussion. Let's start with the planning board comments. These seem, you know, they seem logical and I'm agreeable.
Is it gonna, warrant to have another public hearing if we, those comments in? Or you have to check on that?
No, I would continue the public hearing. If I may, if the board is entertaining directing me to make, if the board is going to direct me to make additional changes, some or all of the changes based on this letter, I would suggest we keep the public hearing open.
Okay.
And proceed with those changes, and I'll make them, we'll send them to the county, and I would rescind that last motion to close the public hearing, quite honestly.
That's why I asked for.
You know.
But okay.
So I'll make a rescind.
You'll rescind the motion.
Yes.
That I was trying to get ahead of not doing. Anyone second? Ron's gonna second the rescinding the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion
So
carries.
we have to continue that public hearing at another date, right?
The next board meeting.
Yeah.
Then does it have to be the next board meeting? Because I don't think we're gonna be ready.
No.
It could be April 2nd.
When we'd be ready on, I'm looking at my calendar, the 19th.
Is the county expected to get theirs?
County should have it back before then. What
Well,
were you
we're
saying,
gonna
Sarah?
need
Yeah, but he needs to
Hold on a
resend
second,
it
hold on a second.
to the
Go ahead, Sarah.
county.
It was sent to the county February 26th.
Okay.
Right, but if we're
He
making
needs
changes
to
to it,
resend
I
us.
need to send a revised version to the county.
Okay.
And then they get their 30 days. We can do, I can have the changes done beginning of next week, if whatever the board directs to change, that's fine, as long as it,
And then you submit them to the county, it triggers another 30 days, is what you're saying?
yeah, and then we have it on file here in the town clerk's office for review by the public and put on the website and all that, but.
But 30 days shouldn't dictate when we schedule the hearing?
No,
Okay.
it's just a question when we can
Yeah,
vote.
but there's no.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So we can just, April 2nd, keep it open until April 2nd is what I'm saying, the public hearing.
Okay, but why can't we do it on the 19th?
We can.
Okay, so why don't we do it on the 19th? Is there anything that's prohibiting the 19th from us acting on it then?
No.
What do you mean acting?
Closing the public
Closing
hearing.
the public
Yeah, you can't act on it until you show something.
Yeah.
Can we get the-
Right, we can get
Make
that.
changes, get it to the county, we can continue the public hearing on the 19th if that's what the board wants to do.
I'm okay with that. Are you guys okay with that?
Yep.
And further to that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we have a response back from the county on the revised law by then, should the board wanna take action and close the public hearing and vote on it, depending upon if we get the response back.
All right, so you're gonna make the changes.
And we're going to, Tara, we're going to advise, either I can do it, or if you wanna call them tomorrow, whatever you want. We'll have to advise them that there's gonna be some changes and to not give us their recommendation.
Okay,
So
thank
just
you.
let me know if you want. You can
So,
do it or you don't.
so now that we've rescinded the motion, we'd like to make a motion, I'd like to ask someone to entertain a motion to keep the public hearing open on introductory local law number 2, used car sales, for Thursday, March 19th at 7 PM or sometime thereafter.
Second.
Motion made by Sherry, seconded by Kristen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Thank you all. The fourth, introductory local law, Ned Law, and Girl Scouts petition to rezone. This is getting, going to be kept open till April 2nd, or not going to be introduced until April 2nd, 7 p.m. So we are not actually going to make a motion to open this public hearing until April 2nd.
No. Open the public
Open the public hearing and keep
Make
it
a
open.
motion to continue it,
Okay.
because I need to make a statement on the record.
Okay, great.
So I'll make the motion to open.
The public hearing.
Public hearing.
Anyone want to second that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
One abstention. Okay. Approved. Would you like to make your statement?
Yeah, first of all, what date do you want to continue this to?
April 2nd, 7 p.m.
Okay. The notice that was published for the public hearing had a technical, there was a typo in it. It did not affect the legality of the notice. One of the parcels in question, the acreage was wrong in the first part of the notice. However, the entire meets and bounds description of that parcel was published with the notice, the entire 34 acres. But in the interest of an overabundance of caution, we will republish the notice continued to the date of April 2nd.
Yeah.
At what time?
7 p.m.
So, just so the board is aware, because it's being continued at the request of the applicant, the public hearing, not because of the notice, but because of other reasons they wanted to. They asked the supervisor and the board to continue the public hearing. So that'll be April 2nd, 2020 at 7 p.m. We will provide the clerk with an updated notice for that date, and then it'll get published.
Okay, great.
That's all I had on this.
Would anyone like to make a motion to continue this public hearing for April 2nd, 7 p.m. or sometime thereafter?
I'll make
Cindy can't second it.
I'll second
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passed. Moving on, we're going to have, we did the public comment where I had public comment on business of the board and then public comment, but it didn't really work. People kind of wanted to comment on everything at once. So we're gonna try it out this meeting with just the one public comment on business of the board and general public comment and see how that works. I wanna have it at this place in the meeting so that you all have an opportunity to comment on any of the items, provide feedback to the discussion. So would anyone like to make a comment? Doesn't have to be business of the board, anything at all. Yes, Patricia.
I'm in Walden. I'm also a member of the Conservation Advisory Council. And I just have two short items. One is I'd like to ask the town board to look into the possibility of showing support for the Community Preservation Fund. A CAC member in Blooming Grove contacted me to say that she was looking for other supports from towns in Orange County for this fund. The town can apply to the legislature to start the process. It works to help preserve open space by transferring a percentage of a property sale tax of the buyer to the fund. The money is set aside by a committee and can then be used for purchase of land or open space. Several nearby towns have used it successfully, and Warwick called it a game changer, and Chester called it a quality of life fee. As the town starts working on the comprehensive plan that will consider areas that should remain open, having a strategy to fund them will be crucial. So I have the letter, and I also have a short article on it for the board. The second area I wanted to bring up is this has to do with our Climate Smart Task Force. As you may already know, our town is officially signed up as a Climate Smart community. And the Town of Montgomery Conservation Advisory Council is also serving as the Climate Smart Task Force. The main goal is to complete high-impact actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. One of these, which we're now beginning, is to present a Heat Smart campaign throughout the town to introduce residents to heat pump technology. As part of this campaign, Energize New York asked the town board to submit a letter of support. I'm enclosing the suggested wording for this letter as well as a sample of the literature about the technology. And Carolyn Casada is the assistant director of this program, so I included her email.
Thank you, Patricia. Much appreciated.
So that's just some literature about the Heat Smart campaign, and that is the community side.
Thank you.
So I can't speak about the Climate Smart Task Force, but the Community Preservation Fund, I believe, Brian, that is the one that Jay Beaumont sent you and I, looking for support also from the board.
Yep, there's been some conversations about that. Warwick had a great deal of success with it. Sometimes it can be difficult when the county applies to get, the government support. He's often vetoed this transfer tax, is how it's referred to. But it's worth a conversation. It certainly did help Warwick, and it's in line with our plans to go in a different direction in terms of preserving open space, PDR. So we're going to take a look at it, definitely. I think we should.
I think the county has supported it too. Did the county try to ask?
The county as a whole, on behalf of the municipalities that were suggested, did try to get it done through the county. So it wasn't done town by town because it can be more difficult to do that. Right now it's sitting in a committee in the Senate, and it hasn't moved. So that could mean it's never going to move, but it doesn't mean we can't talk about supporting it.
So can we put that as an agenda topic or a way that we are discussing it?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can discuss it at our next work session. I don't have a problem doing that. March 19th. All right, anything else? Yes, Barbara.
Good evening. As you know, work has been proceeding at the Amazon site along both the 17K entrance and along the 747 access point by the Arnott Hayward House. More than half of the trees have been cleared and silt fences are in place, and with the noise levels on March 4th, I believe earth moving has already begun. With work like this in process, the town generally sends someone from the building department to inspect the work. When I called on Monday, March 2nd, to see if I could review the construction file, Walt, the building inspector, told me that FAR Engineering had been on site and there was a soil erosion report. To his knowledge, that was the only report in this file. Ellen Heaney kindly made me a copy, gave it to Tara Stickles to process with a formal FOIL request, and this is the normal procedure. When I arrived and asked to review and pick up a copy of this document, which directly impacts my property, I was told that my request would have to be reviewed by the town attorney, and that I could not further review this or anything else in the file, and that I would receive a response back in 5 days. This is the longest amount of time a government unit may take before responding to a FOIL request. I was advised that if there was something specific I was looking for, I could file another FOIL request, and it too would be responded to within 5 days. But I would not be permitted to see the soil erosion report or the contents of any files. As I was filling out the paperwork, adding the construction file to my FOIL request, I did see some of the photos attached to that report, and I believe these were of potentially problematic areas. I asked for a contractor contact list so that if there were any issues when town hall was closed, I would have someone to call, and this too was denied. I asked if the reason I was being denied access was because of my lawsuits, and Tara, you indicated that you didn't know. I've never been denied access to file docs before. To me, this seems like an illegal retaliation and violation of my rights under FOIL. Without being permitted to see the construction file, how could I possibly know if there were any other construction issues that were relevant? I'd like to remind everybody that Tara Stickles, Sue Hatton, Ellen Heaney, and Karen Miller are consummate professionals. They have always been helpful and provided guidance, and this is in no way a reflection on them. They are following orders. Today I received an email regarding my request to see the construction file. After Walt seemed to indicate that there was only one construction file, and only construction file on site at present concerns groundwork, I now have to guess if perhaps there are others. It's not like groundwork construction contains proprietary information. Mr. Marr, this is a direct reflection on you and the town attorney doing your best to make obtaining information in a timely manner difficult, if not impossible. and in contravention to FOIL, prohibiting me or anyone from seeing file documents on a project that impacts all of our lives in a timely manner is unacceptable. You campaigned on open government and transparency. Please, tell me how your actions now represent any part of what you campaigned on. After leaving Town Hall, I walked my property adjacent to the Amazon site. There were fairly deep tire tracks all along the stream bed that forms the boundary between my property and the adjacent land. Last fall, the access path was blocked by downed trees, but these had been conveniently cleared, and there were now piles of tires that were not there when I was on site before. The beaver pond is gone, and I can no longer tell where the beaver lodge had been. I'm aware that it is possible to get a permit to trap beaver and remove their dams, as they can cause flooding. However, this flooding would only have impacted existing wetland. But the most troubling thing was the complete lack of life. Not a squirrel or a chipmunk, not a woodchuck, not even a single bird. This is not normal and very disconcerting, as every other time since 1985 that I have walked this part of our property, there was wildlife everywhere. This is the wildlife corridor that once connected Stewart Forest to the Wallkill River. It is gone. It has been replaced with barren land and constant noise that can be heard well away from the project boundary. I know there are landscape plans that show shrubs and some trees, but these will take years to establish, and they are in no way indicative of what nature really looks like. This unnatural, prepackaged excuse for nature is going to be the new normal for this and for every other project like it. This, sir, is your legacy.
Thanks, Barbara. Anyone else have a comment? Susan?
Yeah, I just want to speak to the circular reasoning we heard a few minutes ago about if you don't want warehouses, you have to have a sewer plant, or you'll get warehouses. But we don't have a sewer plant, and we have mega warehouses. So how is...
I don't know what you mean that we don't have a warehouse,
The
a
guy
wastewater
said,
treatment plant.
he said, if you don't if you don't have sewer treatment plants, you're gonna get warehouses. No one wants warehouses, so you need a sewer treatment plant. But we're getting warehouses without a sewer treatment plant.
We have a sewer treatment plant.
And, that is not a sewer treatment
I
plant.
understand.
Have you looked at it?
I understand what you're trying
That
to
is
say,
not
but we
a
have.
sewer treatment plant.
Okay.
He was referring to having a facility that can take on quite a bit of gallonage per day.
Okay.
We don't have that, and we have not had that. The other thing is, both of those warehouses, I said it before, and I'll say it again, there is no room on those parcels, the way the plans came in, for any land treatment technology or any kind of septic system. So the idea that they could do that is BS. Okay, let's get that out of the way. It's nonsense. Secondly, it was kind of like a sneering thing that people want to have, production facilities or medical facilities, and you can't have those because you don't have a sewer treatment plant. Well, we could have those if they were in our comprehensive plan. There were no, and when this Medline came in, and when you took office, there were no permits and no approvals. So there was no as of right and no vested interest. So you could have a moratorium and put this thing to the wayside. Okay. Now, it's not the moratorium document itself that matters, but it's the relevance of it, the importance of what's in it, and its ability to cleanly allow the best possible outcome for the whole town, not bits and pieces. You can't cut it up. The town board that's been sitting here has been sitting here all the years we were vulnerable without a comprehensive plan. Some of you were sitting here when the comprehensive plan was voided, and not one of you, except for you, took the time to research to see how to get one back in place. You can download moratoria law on the internet from the New York State Department of State, and Barbara Lerner gave moratoria law copies to the board members that are still here from before, and you could have come walking into office ready to go. You don't have to pay an attorney to jerry-rig and manipulate and snip and twerk and a moratorium law. We could have had one for free. Just slap it down, go. You knew you had to do it. You could have come in, hit the ground running. You didn't. With comprehensive plans, everything that is in the plan allows the town to reach out and get money. Patricia was talking about funding. You could have certified local government. New York State Route 17K is on state maps as a bike route. Proper planning, you could get funding for that, for safe routes to schools, for sidewalks in the community. If it's not on the master plan, you can't get it. But once these giant behemoths come in, no one's gonna want to paddle past them, walk past them, bike past them. You're, again, said it before, cart before the horse. It's wrong. You can do so much and your legacy can be brilliant. And you can go on further, or you can have a couple of dirty cans tied to your ankle for the rest of your life because this is gonna screw things up. But anything that is in a comprehensive plan, community involved, brings in money. Those are tax dollars we pay to the state and the county and the federal government. The only way they come back is when you ask for them. And the only way they'll be released to the town is if they are documented and voted upon by board members into law that yes, we're cognizant, we're competent, and we know what to do with it. You try asking for money without things on the books, very difficult. And I've said this while Mr. Winchell was here. You can't have non-sanitary engineers dealing with water and wastewater.
Those engineers are special. Bill Bright from Delaware Engineering is a water sewer specialist.
I asked him, he said he wasn't. He said it right in front of you. I said, are you a sanitary engineer?
He absolutely is.
Then why didn't he know what he was talking about?
I think he does know what he's talking about.
Didn't sound like it.
Okay, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments? Mary Ellen?
Just to go piggyback on Patricia, the property transfer tax in Warwick, they also use it for historic preservation.
Yeah.
And you could use it for parks too, so it would be a great thing to be able to get that. 2 weeks ago I gave, because we couldn't speak, I gave you a memo about Golden Family Cemetery. I sent everything to Will and I haven't heard anything, and I hope that you will discuss that soon in the future.
We had a discussion about it today as well, myself and Will.
Because going forward from that too, I'd like to bring Warwick, Chester, Orangetown, and I think Goshen, a couple of communities that have cemetery protection laws. And we should look about putting that into place, because we have 4 cemeteries that are on the town list, and we really don't have a way to protect them. So I'd like to see work happen on that, but I'd also like to see something happen with this deed. I don't know how that language could have disappeared from the deed.
That's what I'm looking backwards.
Okay.
Thank you, Marilyn. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Jane Bureau, Montgomery. I think it was the beginning of last month when I was at a meeting and I mentioned something that a petition had been handed in, signed by several residents of the town concerning consideration for sound ordinance guidelines in our community. I did find the copies I have at home, and I will give you one. I'll give one to Tara just for a record. Certainly, as we're looking at comprehensive plan and stuff, I think this is something we should consider. Where I live, I don't think there's any big warehouses being proposed, but there are a couple open lots, and who the heck knows, but I really feel for my neighbors that live within our township and what's going to be in their neighborhoods. It would really traumatize me, probably really upset my dog too. So I wanted to say that. And I will say once again, the residents come in and talk with a lot of good facts, really concerned about what's going on. And I really wish that their comments held as much weight with everybody as when the developers or the lawyers come in, because these are people who really care about the community and live here. And just from my nursing background, I'm sitting out in the audience. Keep your hands away from your faces. I can't help but notice that because
I've done it a few
break my
times,
habit.
Yeah, that's me. Jim, can I ask you with the noise ordinances, can you also bring that to the planning board's attention? Because I know they've had some issues with noise ordinances on other projects, and if we want to move anything forward, maybe the collaboration with the planning board might help too.
Okay, I'll plan to go to a meeting. A lot of this was started with the farm.
Thank you.
Unlike the Cyrus Road with these other people in the township that are concerned about different types of cases. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Before we move on? Yes. Go ahead, John. Then we'll Bev.
One is John Brown, Town of Montgomery. I want to thank the board for finally taking up the auto sales local law. That was something that was brought up to the prior administration 6 or 8 months ago. I'm happy to see you're finally considering that and taking action on it. The other point I want to bring up is we were talking about changes in the town and the area around the village of Montgomery. And I'd just like us to not lose sight as we're going into the comprehensive plan that those lands that are in agriculture today, they don't need sewer treatment plants. What agriculture needs is to improve their viability and to be able to continue agricultural operations. And things like PDR or the transfer tax or those things that will help us maintain agricultural viability should have the same importance as looking at development in I-2 areas, because agriculture is allowed in all of those areas. So let's not lose track of that option of improving the viability of agricultural operations in this town. And I think, with this coronavirus thing, we're going to realize the importance of local food will have a significant impact in the future on all of this. So as long as we can preserve agriculture here, we should be in better shape.
Sure
Thank
thing.
you.
Thank you, John. Beverly, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if the town board knows about what could possibly be an illegal mining operation that's going on over at Aidenbrook Farms. I'm literally, I can see see his building, which is like 8 bays. It does not in any way look like a barn for holding hay. It really doesn't. It looks like it's got transfer windows and it's all concrete pad. It almost looks like a facility to work on trucks. Just saying. But you might, and I could hear the rock grinders and all that stuff going on 6:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night. Clouds of gray dust all over the place. Trucks in and out. I don't have proof, but somebody might want to take a look. I did report it to the DEC.
Thank you.
Hey, Beverly? Yes. Regardless of whether it's a farm building or not, they would still be subject to mining. If it is a mine, I don't know. I don't know what per se is going on or what's been reported or what permits they have or don't have. But regardless, farms are still subject to obtaining permits as long as they're not onerous under the Ag and Markets Law.
Okay, just bring that up for information.
Thank you. Sheree?
Because somebody brought it up, and it's just out of interest. I know, you know me. Speaking of the coronavirus, and I'm not a doomsdayer, but I will admit I bought my toilet paper. But in seriousness, is there any plans and contingencies being set by the board, just so the residents know? I mean, we all want to argue the moratorium, we all want to be here together, but what kind of contingencies? And I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. So we have been bringing that up for a couple different reasons. One, public safety, but two, also liability, making sure that we're taking precautions, and that our department head meeting this past week actually, we brought about different issues that we're going to do in terms of having Jack, our janitorial staff, every single day, be wiping down different offices and the railings. We also bought in bulk, or attempted to buy in bulk, a ton of cleaning supplies. And during our attempts, it was actually, they were unavailable for months and months and months. They were back ordered forever. We were able to receive a donation for all the supplies that we need. So we actually got that handled. I was scared to say who it was, but Medline did end up donating all those materials to us. But it, you know, that's just what they did. You know, there was a need, we had an issue, they came through. So there's no shame in admitting that. In terms of the residents and feeling a specific amount of protection, I think we're doing everything that we can do. And I think it's important also, we will post it to our Facebook page and let people know it's creeping up, and you know, it could be in Orange County soon, so we gotta be careful. If you have any comments? I know, I didn't want to confirm that. Can we confirm that right now? I don't want to. I don't want to have it confirmed at the town board meeting.
I'm not confirming it.
All right, good.
on my own, but I thought I saw it on.
I don't like talking numbers unless we can confirm it. Okay. Thank you for the question, Sheree. Ginny?
Yes. Jenny Niedermeyer, Director of the Walden Library. I'm really just here to report on your library. I usually give Tara our info. And thank you for moving the public comment to the middle of the meeting. So I will just speak to two things. The first one is that the library is partnering with the Walden Savings Bank to put together a fraud schemes and scams program Monday, March 30th at 1 o'clock, specifically targeting seniors, especially in light of things that are happening today. And this ties in with the second thing that I'd like to talk about, which is the upcoming census. Everybody needs to take the census. There's a lot of misinformation out there about the census. It's only 9 questions. You'll get information. You'll be invited to take it online. Seniors will not want to do this. Most people will not want to do this online. If you have any questions, come to the library. We have computers that are designated for you to come in, sit down, take your time, fill out the census online if that's what you prefer to do. You will be pushed to do that in the beginning, but you will also, if you don't do that, you'll be reminded to do that, to take the census in the middle of April, and you'll get a paper form to fill out. Again, there are 9 questions. They're not asking for your social security, they're not asking for any personal information. And I think that's it in a nutshell. But really, most of your libraries have been preparing this since last year. The Village of Walden has a complete count committee. The Village of Walden has been deemed a hard to count area. There was 28% of the population did not respond to the last 2 censuses. And the last point is, if you don't count, your community loses $2,500 a person for the next 10 years. So that money gets rerouted out of your area. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Much appreciated. Yes.
My name's Corey Zahakis. I just have 2 easy, quick questions to be just clarified. I'm just kind of thinking about what Mary Ellen had said earlier. And I think about this every day as I go to work. Those tractor trailers by the historical site. What are we doing? Why has it been several months? What are we doing to get rid of them? Why are they still there? What has been going on with that?
No, good question.
That's an easy question.
Yeah, it is, and we're in discussions. And Chief, I don't know if you wanted to get into it a little bit. I know you've been part of it.
It took quite a while to actually find out who owns them. There should be one of them gone already.
Yeah, there is one gone, you're right, but I just...
The gentleman that one of my officers tracked it down, apparently they're owned out of a company in Buffalo, New York. And they were given 72 hours to remove them, and that was yesterday.
Okay, because that's what I was going to say. What's so hard about this? Hiring some tow truck,
You
tow them
can-
and then charge them.
You have to provide notice first, and that's what we did.
We had to track.
We have to provide them notice, but
Yes.
they provide notice they're going to leave them there.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
We just have to work with the law.
I think about it every day when I go to
No,
work.
it's a frustrating situation. It was
Yeah.
frustrating to try to track down who owned them. There was some statements made about a local individual owning them, turned out not to be true. We followed up with it. I'll be honest with you, I don't go to work that way. I was not
I mean,
aware of it until
it's one of
it
those-
actually came up at a meeting.
I've seen it for several months, every day I go to work, and that's what makes me
No, it's
think, but
fine. No,
you
it's-
got it, 72 hours, it's gone.
That's what they were told,
Good.
where they're gonna be taken to, you got me, but we're gonna find somewhere to get them, but.
72 hours, if they're not gone,
Yeah.
what happens?
Well, they'll be going, we're gonna tow them.
Yeah,
we're gonna
it's
tow
on
them
us.
before you
And
have.
then we'll charge them and we'll get the money reimbursed.
Correct. That's the process that's in place.
That's what I think it was an easy question.
That's the
I just
best
wanted to
case,
know.
that's the best case scenario, but don't bet on it.
The second question, I just thought, because I've been going to work, and I don't know how this works, and maybe you can confirm it or not, but are we being reimbursed for the police officer sitting there
Yes.
monitoring? So we are.
100%.
Okay.
100%, and actually, we'll probably end up, we have a flat rate for
Okay.
those types of things. It's called a request for police services. They are paying a flat rate of pay, which actually exceeds most of the hourly rates that the
Okay.
officers get. It's not depriving from any neighborhood
Okay.
patrols. They're extra officers. They will be billed every other month. We're keeping track of every hour, and they have made a 100% commitment that they will reimburse us. Unfortunately, in the state of New York, there's no legal mandate like there are in other states. In the state of New Jersey, Massachusetts, that's a law. But they've assured us
That we're gonna get reimbursed
100%.
for 100%.
Every hour.
Fine.
And that was part of our initial kickoff meetings we had with them. We
Yeah.
brought Butch in to make sure that we had everything under control, there was no surprises.
I didn't know, and I just asking because I
No,
go
sure.
by there and
No,
I'm thinking,
I
why
know,
is the
I've been
company not
asked.
doing that?
I've
But-
been asked
Oh, you have?
by folks, I've been asked
Oh,
by
okay.
folks, and I've explained it. Listen, it's going to be something that you're gonna want a police officer.
Yeah.
It's
Well, yeah, I'm not,
here.
yeah, but as long as it's not coming out of my pocket, it's
No.
coming out of their pocket,
No.
so, okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Yes, Barbara, and then Don.
I just have two comments. On the trailers, why didn't you go to a company like G&G Auction? I've had vehicles and trailers dumped on my property, and it took 2 weeks to get rid of them. They do the research, they auction them off, and I keep the money.
Mhm.
So-
Well, moving forward, that's what we'll do. I'm not aware of that.
I mean, it's,
I'm not aware of that at all. I didn't know there
it's
was
like
a
the
company that do
easiest,
that.
they're local, by
Okay.
the way, they are local.
Where are they out of?
I'll have to look it up.
That's fine.
Can you follow up with Chief?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can look
Yeah.
into it. Like
I think it was called
I
G&G
said.
Auction, because when MJM moved out, they dumped about 6 or 7 vehicles, 3 or 4 trucks. They did everything, including obtaining titles, so that I could legally sell them. It was a piece of cake. Put a legal notice in the paper, has to be in 5 days in advance, hold an auction, either you take them or somebody else takes them, and they're done. And that's the end of it.
Thank you, Barbara.
Regarding the police activity, how do you calculate the cost of insurance?
It's-
Because liability insurance carries forward for years, workers' compensation, an accident will affect your experience bond.
I can tell you, it's $75 an hour with a 4-hour minimum. That's what they're paying. $75 an hour with a 4-hour minimum. We do not assess all the things that other places do in other states. Medical retirement. You gotta remember, man, they could turn around and tell me we're not paying, and then they wouldn't get it. But
Why don't we ask them to hire their own
They-
private security?
So they will be doing that, and I think at the end of the day, having a town of Montgomery police presence, even with their private security, ensures that we have another set of eyes, another pair of eyes, because we know the roads better, no matter who they hire. Butch is, I wanna make sure Butch and the police department are involved in there, so it's really just,
That
it's just
I
us kind of.
understand.
During the discussion, we brought this up, and they said, fine, that they had no problem with it. They thought they do it in other places, they've done it in other states, other construction sites. We told them that, we would be able to do it, but they had to reimburse us. That was the system that was set up. And, we've done it in other places too. And we've done it for Angry Orchard. Okay, they didn't reimburse us.
I just
Okay?
disagree with all of them.
So I can just tell you, they told us they would pay us and they didn't do it. So that's Angry Orchard. So there's one of your nice community folks that
I can
didn't reimburse
appreciate
us when we
that.
asked them.
But I also know that your experience bond on workers' compensation stays with you for 7 or 8 years, current year plus 7. and your experience mod for your insurance can carry with you for life. So one bad accident will affect your rates for the next 7 to 10 years going
If
forward.
the board wants to raise the hourly rate that I set up a few years back, you're more than welcome to. That's the rate
To
that we
be
discussed
honest with
several
you,
years ago.
$75 an hour is dirt cheap. That is really, really, I don't think you're covering yourself with that.
It's more than we're paying some of our police officers, so.
I think to
That's not
Barbara's,
direct pay.
I think to Barbara's point though, they're probably paying over $100 an hour for private security, so I think that's what you're trying to get at, right, Barbara?
In a way, I just don't want us to be on the hook for an accident, for somebody tripping and falling
Understood.
or running into the back of a car.
Anytime the police wear the uniform and something happens, there's always a risk.
But that's the risk, but it shouldn't be our risk. It should be their risk.
I would debate that. That's for another topic.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, Don, and then Mary Ellen, how many times have we talked to Mr. Thomas?
When I worked at Jersey Bush, we used to have to reimburse the police over about $212.
Oh, I'm aware. I'm
That's
actually aware.
something else. But more to the point, I'm not sure if this board's aware, that pad that those trailers are sitting on, Kristen, you might remember, at a planning board meeting in the middle of last year, a young lady came and was approved to put up a stand there. Hot dog, coffee, and all that, so I'm sure spring's running right around here, and she's gonna need that spot.
But she never did even come back in and do what she had
Well,
to do.
I don't know,
right
but
now.
I'm just telling you, it was approved, and it's there.
Well,
just
she'll
a-
have to redo it again for
Yeah.
this year.
Okay.
The hot dog vendor permits run yearly.
Okay.
Thanks, Don. All right, Mary Ellen.
This is just apropos to that site too. If there's no overnight parking there, because it is part of the roadway, can't we just put some temporary signs up there? So that once you move these trailers, at least nobody else is gonna park there?
You wanna put
Violation?
You wanna put signs up? Okay. I mean,
I mean, if it's in the code that there's no overnight parking on that road, because it's part of the roadway, it's not a separate parcel.
I understand. I think someone was dumping those, right? Like, I don't,
But it's still overnight parking, I mean, they can park there overnight for 2 months.
I understand.
But we don't want other people.
We'll get into that, Mary Ellen, okay?
Okay.
All right. Yes.
I think you gotta state that.
Just a follow-up?
Just a quick follow-up, because it came to mind. The officer who's sitting there, is he part of the normal staffing for the day? or is
No, he
part of-
mentioned that.
So
Butch
he's-
mentioned that.
So we're not affecting any?
Butch actually did mention that
Okay.
in his response. That's one thing we wanted to make very clear.
Just couldn't hear it. so-
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I got the coronavirus baby, by the way.
Which made it very clear to me if it came up in conversation with residents to make sure you reiterate it's not taken away from current patrols, it's above and beyond an extra.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and it's scheduled ahead of time. Any other comments before we keep going with our business? All right, thank you all very much. Moving on to old business, RFP for consultants. I have a list of consultants here that were not reappointed at the reorg meeting. I'm just gonna use this real quick, and my opinion is we continue to use the consultants that we're using through the end of the year, unless the board would like to interview for any of the following. And just give me a second to find my list. That's it. Sorry. No, it's okay. Accounting consultants, we actually already did that one, I'm sorry. We did that separately after the reorg meeting. Planner for the town, now, correct me if I'm wrong, planner for the town is the planning board, and that's just us reiterating that, or do we actually have the option to have our own planner?
Sure, you can have a separate plan.
Or we just leave it vacant and we can utilize the services of the town planner as well?
You'd also just
To the committee.
engage the consultant for the comprehensive plan as
So
well.
technically, they could be.
That's really the.
All right, and this one is interesting. We have town consulting engineers and we have engineer for the town. So obviously, we're RFPing for engineer for the town. I would imagine our engineer for the town would also be our consulting engineers, and they would handle any issues, and if they couldn't handle it, they would spec it out. So I don't think we need both. I think when we have an engineer for the town, that'll suffice. We looked at the ZBA attorney and town attorney as we have. Again, my recommendation is we keep going through the end of the year. Planning board attorney and our labor attorney, we've worked quite well. I'd like to keep him on as well. So if you guys don't have any issues in terms of those consultants, we'll move forward and we'll formally appoint them at our work session in a motion. That's gonna be part of that reorg resolution that we did not finish.
What about, question, what about the engineer? Like, you said that the planning board attorney, but you didn't mention the
Planning
other
board engineer.
consultants that they have an engineer.
Yeah, they're not on my list for some reason here.
Just out of curiosity, why would they do all the consultants?
Yeah, currently according to the code, which is why I'm confused, this actually probably shouldn't be on my list actually. According to the code, which I was actually surprised to see as well, because in Walden we do this differently, the town planning board appoints their consultants. So that could be removed from this resolution, I would assume. I don't know. Yeah. So I will remove that one.
Do you give them money though, out of the budget?
I understand where you're coming from, I agree with you, but according to our town code, it's not our appointment, which is, I think, strange and different. It's something we might wanna take a look at, but that's something for a future discussion, because they've already been appointed for this year.
I don't know that I've ever paid for a professional service that I didn't hire.
I'm with you. I'm not gonna be on the opposite side of that conversation.
I mean, this might be another conversation, but yeah, when it comes to budget, you know.
Anytime we did.
What do you mean that?
Well,
They get paid by the planning and monies.
No.
I thought
No.
we gave them a budget.
There are budget lines for them, and those are controlled by the town board.
Yeah, even their fees, they get in, all of that, it's our budget. So what Kristen's saying is, and in most municipalities, this is how it's done, you hire the town board in consultation with members of the planning board. In our town, it's different. We actually don't have that authority, however, we have the budget. So there should be probably a courtesy of involvement, which there currently isn't, but we have good communication right now, and it's something we wanna change moving forward, it's something we can consider. But what I'm hearing is we're gonna make a motion, I'll roll it up, we'll get the reorg resolution back, and on the 19th, we'll fix some of this stuff up and clean it up with a motion.
Okay, send me the information.
I will, and we'll get to some of the other ones and exactly that have to do with interviews.
I think you needed a motion.
No, I'm gonna set it up for you, and we'll get the resolution together for that 19th work session. We're gonna try to make all the appointments by then, as much as possible. All right, any other discussion on that? All right, moving along, Bush, do you wanna speak to the part-time animal control officer that we're going to create the position for?
Yes, I'm just asking the board to, right now, we have, as you know, a full-time animal control officer, one. This is an attempt to remedy the fact that she can't simply be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I had originally approached the board, and I know we had discussed it back, I believe, in 2018. I had posted an announcement, could not find anybody that was interested in the position. However, I did find somebody this year. So what we really would need to do, if the board would do this, is to create the position of part-time animal control officer. And then I have discussed an hourly rate, which is about what we pay our dispatchers, would be $14.50 to start. After 6 months, it would go to $15. This person would be scheduled to work in the odd hours that the animal control officer may not be available on weekends beyond call. And I do have an individual, however, I have to just clarify that she would be eligible with civil service. So step one would be to create the position, and then what I'd like to do is set that hourly rate with the board's approval, and then maybe set a date of appointment, say 3 weeks from now, which would give me the opportunity to work with Orange County Human Resources and get everything set up. Because we're trying to do some things a little differently with the hiring, working more with the folks upstairs here at their request, make it a little bit easier on them as well.
No problem. Will, does it matter that it's $15 an hour in our resolution, but the probation period would be $14.50?
Well, we would want to, I wasn't aware there was a probation period.
Okay.
So we want to just, we already have a resolution for this, so we want to slightly adjust number 3 on the resolution to say, we paid at the initial rate of $14.50 per hour pending completion of the first 6 months of employment.
Okay.
And then increasing the upon successful completion to $15 an hour.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to approve this resolution of the town board of the town of Montgomery creating the position of part-time animal control officer with those edits?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilwoman Melick, seconded by Councilman Boss. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Butch.
Thank
Good luck.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I got you. Second, July work session meeting notice. I have a conflict personally. I'd let you all know about the date change. So instead of the third Thursday, and I know, Will, this might affect you, this would be the fourth Thursday in July. So we would be moving the meeting and making a motion to notice the meeting. What is it? A motion to how would you word this?
Reschedule the regular board meeting.
Scheduled for, hold on, I'm trying to.
This is July.
Yeah, so the original
July.
meeting date is Thursday, July 16th, so we'd be rescheduling from the 16th of July to the 23rd of July at 7 PM, our town board work session. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, so are you available, or are we going to have another attorney from your practice available?
Someone from my office will be available. I don't know if I'll be able to switch things to be here, but either myself or one of my associates will be.
23rd.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. In the town of Montgomery, historically, it seems as though only one signer has been signing checks. I would like to, moving forward, ensure that there's always two individuals signing checks. It's common practice in most municipalities throughout, everywhere. So what we have right now is me and Ron, but if one of us is not available, we thought it'd be important to have a third signer, since Cindy has done it before as deputy supervisor, and in the interim, at the end of the year there, when there were some absences from the supervisor, we were going to just have her, continue on and be our third signatory. So this would be a resolution of the town board of the town, what is it? Resolution of the town board of the temporarily authorizing, we'll have to fix that. Councilwoman Cindy Voss to sign checks from the town of Montgomery accounts payable bank account at A&T Bank. Would anyone like to make that motion?
Hey, there's a resolution.
There was an updated one that came through.
Oh, I must not have that, I'm sorry.
You want mine?
No, I got it right here. Resolution of the town board of the town of Montgomery authorizing Councilwoman Cindy Voss to sign checks issued from the town of Montgomery accounts. Would anyone like to make that motion?
Only a M&T Bank?
No, that's why we switched to this.
From any bank account maintained by the town during the times where the town supervisor, deputy town supervisor, and town bookkeeper are unavailable to sign town issued checks.
Yep.
I'll make it.
I wouldn't just limit it to checks either. There's vouchers that have to be signed sometimes. They have to be approved for the audit meetings.
I mean,
Might have a-
but no, so the bookkeeper can sign certain of those, but he is not able to sign checks, so that's why it's specific checks. So Bernard is able to have some of those signatures. Not all of them, but some of them.
That aren't gonna be here July.
We always change it to the bookkeeper, it's by position, yeah.
Now vouchers that have to be approved for our audit meeting.
I mean, that wasn't part of the discussion, no, this was specific checks.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna get a third person as a signatory, you might as well, whatever.
I don't think you need more than two, but I mean, it's up to the board.
What's your thinking that we would need that, we wouldn't plan for it ahead of time to ensure that one of you two are here?
Somebody's on vacation, somebody's in the military, or somebody's sick.
Usually a voucher is not, like, a check could be an emergency. A voucher could wait usually.
I think we're good.
Okay.
I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen, this scenario's even always thing, but yeah. If I was gone for a prolonged period of time, I would say we'd have to designate somebody, like military leave, something like that.
You're going away for 2 weeks.
Yeah, Ron.
Man,
Nobody seconded.
We'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at it.
do it all at one time.
Let's do this one first, and then we'll address that. I'll take a look at that. I understand what you're saying. Did anyone make a motion on this?
I did.
it was seconded by?
Nobody.
Ron, you want to second this one?
Sure.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So abstain.
Any abstaining? Motion carried. All right, resolution, this is an item that was brought to us late. We thought it was important to memorialize our meetings for the Comprehensive Plan Committee. So this would be item E on your agenda in new business. It's a resolution of the Town Board of the Town of Montgomery adopting the schedule of meetings for the Town of Montgomery Comprehensive Plan Committee. These meetings will be held the first and third Wednesday of every month at 5:30 p.m. here at Town Hall, beginning on Wednesday, April 1st. That is not a joke. Now it is. So, finally, Comp Plan Committee formed, first meeting April 1st. Cannot wait to see how that goes. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make it.
Sherry, you want a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question for Cindy, because you're actually the chairperson of the committee. Why are you waiting until April 1st to have your first meeting?
First Wednesday was last week, and third Wednesday, we have a special meeting this month, so we can't be two places at once. So the first Wednesday of April is the next available day.
I
We
mean,
have a special meeting.
Right, I mean, we could have it any other day of the week.
Well, we took a
There was-
survey from all of the committee members, and these were the two nights that they asked for, so.
Right, there was a discussion for quite a while, or at least until the last person answered, which I think it was a couple days ago. But, my concern is that,
Everybody answered last week.
what?
Everybody answered last week. We also worked with Bonnie and Max to make sure they were available, so this is actually what Bonnie chose when we worked with her yesterday.
So my concern is, that by starting April 1st, and maybe it's just to put on the record that, you're losing a couple weeks. Like, we appointed the committee two weeks ago? I forget, I'm losing track of time, when we actually appointed the comp plan committee. But we've lost those 2 weeks in scheduling. There's been 2 meetings, one with you and Max, and I don't know who else. But there was a meeting between you guys, and there was a subsequent meeting with Brian, I believe, in the CAC. But there has not been a meeting of the comp plan committee yet. So in waiting until April 1st, I know according to their, both RFPs, right? When we looked at both companies, when we were looking at Nelson Pope and Bory and the Burge Group, both stated that this plan timeline will take 12 to 18 months.
That was also based on 1 meeting a month, not 2 meetings a month. That's gonna greatly shorten this threshold.
But just knowing that we also have the concern of the zoning, if there's any potential zoning changes that come after the comp plan is completed, and we are running up against a time frame of 12 months as recommended by our attorney to reduce the chance of liability.
I understand that, but we worked with 11 people's schedule, they all want the first and the third, and we just happened to have scheduled a special meeting on the third Wednesday of this month, so it was just this one.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Next item is audit number 3 of 2020.
Excuse me, did you skip B on your agenda?
What was big?
No. Oh, yes, sorry, I did not mention that we are going to table that motion. We actually are gonna have that discussion in executive session. We are not going to take action on it this evening. Thank you.
There's like 5 copies of this?
Why?
I don't know.
Oh, they're for you.
I think it was just for you guys, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just to have, just to have in the whole.
Okay.
And it's actually abstract number 2 of 2020.
Oh, and it's on here as number 3?
Yeah,
Oh, because the
check.
other one was 2019,
Yeah.
Okay. So this is abstract number 2 of 2020, and the amount is $833,615.47. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yep.
Voucher number 200302, I'd like some more explanation on why we're getting charged that amount.
Okay, we can pull it if you'd like, the rest of the board would like to. But we'll have to change the bottom line number in the motion.
It's like an exclamation, I didn't get to ask you, Brian, on that specific one.
You didn't put it aside or anything?
No, I'm afraid of changing that out of order and getting yelled at.
No,
Just
you
tell
wouldn't be.
Oh, we can.
Yeah, that
Oh.
makes it easier, because now.
I can look.
What's it for?
Orange County Partnership for the amount of $1,870.
Well, I'm sorry, say it again.
It's for the Orange County Partnership in the value of $1,870.
Dues, we have a membership with them.
And what do they provide?
It's something that was pretty much agreed upon and it's part of the budget. You're like a partner, like a municipal partner. They have thresholds, so municipalities join and they pay a fee. It's a membership fee.
That's not, I mean, I don't know, they're a corporation, but I think don't they have individual partners?
They do, and they have municipal agreements as well. So this is something that we could certainly take a look at if we wanted to, but
Yeah, I'd
we're
like to
currently
know,
in it.
I'd like to know what value we're going to get back for paying for that.
I can get you that information, but we did agree to pay, so I'd like to include it in.
We agreed to pay, we agreed to pay?
The town, yes, the town board, previous to this town board, was agreed to pay it. So if we want to look at it going forward, I'm fine with that, but I would pay this one.
If we don't pay it now until we find out more information on it, do we get hit with penalties or?
No, it's just an agreement.
We don't get as many warehouses.
It's certainly not, yeah.
It was budgeted, the board authorized payment, hold until the next meeting if you want to get some more information.
Yeah, that's what I would request.
What's the number?
If we can get more information. The voucher number is
No, the dollar amount.
$200,302, $1,870. And is that like an annual due? I mean, I haven't seen it in the past. $1,870.
$870
It's the annual thing.
and $1,870 and zero?
Yes.
All right, let's do some math. All right, so what we'll do is rescind that motion.
Well, you have to.
Edit?
You have to ask the board if ever,
Right. Do you guys want to take this out and get
I
more
don't
information?
mind looking into it in the future, but it's already in the budget.
All right, so you just want to pay?
I made the motion.
Okay. Do you guys want to take a look at this and pull it out, or are you okay with paying this bill?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, Ron?
I'm understanding I did not go through it.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
that's my record.
I'm good. We can pull it and then I'll get more information.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is fix the motion and, $833,000. I'm sorry, I need a calculator for this. Where's my calculator?
It's big numbers.
Oh my gosh. All right, 833. Okay, that brings the amount to $831,745.47. So now I can rescind the motion, correct?
No.
No, just edit the motion?
Edited the amount.
Just the amount.
We're gonna edit the
Taking
amount in this
out voucher
motion to $831,745.47 as opposed.
Taking out voucher number, whatever.
Yeah.
Voucher number 200302.
200.
302.
Okay.
To be reconsidered at the next audit of bills and claims.
Right, in 2 weeks.
And I'll make that motion again.
Okay.
I'll second
All in favor?
it. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Oh, one abstention, Ron Feller. Thank you, everyone. Everyone will be happy to get paid. Also, if you guys did not notice, we're gonna be doing audits every meeting instead of once a month. They're gonna be every meeting, just so we get our bills out to our vendors quicker, improve relationships, everybody's happy. It helps
Yes,
with our
thank you
accounting
for
as
that.
well, no problem. Okay, good of the order. Anyone from the board who has anything from the community, anything at all?
Yeah, World Savings Bank Fraud Seminar that's going to be held at the library is excellent. We've been doing it in a lot of the communities, so if anybody takes part of that, I think they'll really enjoy it.
Awesome.
And,
Thank you.
I did send this email, I think, Megan was working on sending it to the board as well as the planning board and so on and so forth, but.
It was sent.
Thank you. For the public to know, March 9th, there'll be a training here with Rob Ferry regarding the MS4 program. So it's a general overview of the MS4 program, which we are a part of. Unfortunately, unfunded mandate. So it'll be a general overview of where the MS4 program came from, as well as what's included in the permit. And I think this will count for training in our permit. So it will be here at 5:30 on Monday. And Rob Ferry is an ex-EPA enforcement officer on this program.
Let me know, let's get with them beforehand about the TVs.
Yep, I'll definitely get with him, but that's where I was yesterday morning, rather than attending the planning board work session, was I went to his class in Kingston. He had a similar class, but it was longer in length. Very good. I sat next to the code enforcement officer for Goshen, so knowing what they're going through, it was quite a discussion with the Lego Land project and getting the truths versus the rumors.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues.
Specifics.
In what department?
Specific individuals, employment history, potential hiring, or dismissal.
Okay. And we're also gonna discuss, potential interview discussions on board appointments, certain board appointments as well.
Yeah.
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carried. Okay.
We're gonna make any appointments tonight?
No plans to. No, we have no plans to take any actions. Okay. You're gonna pull that out? Do you have the number? Okay. Thank you.
You look like that one over.
Oh, no, I had a bad day today.
Meg, you're good to go. In case you didn't know.